it's Kathy, and I'm back in my favorite place, which happens to be my porch. And I wanted to tell this little story because I was telling it in a class I was teaching yesterday, and it just drives home the reasons for using tools that get you out of your head and learning tools that help connect you with your intuition and with the truth of who you are. So, you know what that means, he said. So I was telling this story about how this year I had to get my house refinanced. And when a decision feels big to me, I generally go to my head. It's kind of funny, but that's the pattern. It's like, work it out, figure it out, think it through, make sure you make a really solid, wise, justifiable decision, choice here. And so as my head swirled with numbers, because I was given, you can pay a 2.85 percentage point, but you have to pay all this money in advance. Or you can have a 3.6 percentage points without that, and you can have this other percentage point, like so many different choices. And for me, it's like entering numbers on an amortization schedule on the internet and just trying to figure out what's the best choice for me, what's going to create the greatest possibilities. And it felt like a burden. Then I thought to myself, you use the Akashic Records for lots of things. How about this one? Because I really was in the space of, this is a big decision, and I would have little pings of intuition. But sometimes when you weigh a choice down, by thinking it's so important, that voice of intuition is a little harder to hear. So I sat and I accessed the Akashic Records, which is a storehouse of information. Everyone has the ability to access it. It's information of every thought, every feeling, every encounter, every experience you've ever had as a being. And also future potentials, future resonances and frequencies. So each person has this. And there are different ways of accessing it. Some ways are through writing. I like to use that a lot. When I do healing with people in the records, a lot of times we go to a viewing room to experience different scenarios, or at least watch them and receive healing. And I did the process. I did it with writing, but I also heard very clearly, go with Dan. A huge weight lifted off my shoulders, because I was like, okay, cool. Going with Dan. Don't have to mull over this decision for any more hours. And so that was in early March, late February, stuff like that. And we finally closed last Monday. Yay! I signed all the papers and did all the things. And looking over the papers that day, I realized, this choice, right? And it was challenging for me to see ahead of time, because, you don't know exactly what the closing costs will be. You don't know. Sometimes extra insurance is needed with one provider versus another. It's like, what's the final monthly payment going to be for real? And I looked over it, and it's like, I saved myself at least $15,000 by making the choice to go with Dan. Now, ahead of time, my brain didn't have access to that information, but my being did. Right? And that's the reason to learn to connect with these different tools and to learn your particular style of intuition, because some people's style is feeling, right? You get chicken skin or goosebumps. You have a gut feeling. You know, lots of CEOs have actually admitted, yes, they use their gut a lot. There's also seeing. So you may see images of, intuitive images. A lot of times, actually, as children, this is a reason people shut it off, because they didn't like the images they saw, or they thought they caused the mishap, right? Like, give you a quick example. My dad was going to repair a toy box a couple years ago, and he asked me for a knife, and I saw him cutting himself in my head, and I go, "What are you going to do with that knife?" Right? I'm like, don't do it. And anyway, yeah, he did, right? So as a child, often we think, oh, I caused that. And you did not cause it. You just intuited it. You just knew, right? And then there's also hearing. Like when I heard Go With Dan, I hear a lot of information for people and for myself. That's really, a useful way for me to access intuition. And then there's just knowing. All right, when you just know, you don't have to have evidence. You don't have to know why you knew. You just know. And then some people consider, dreaming another intuitive sense. And we could talk about it, as one or as its own separate category. But learning to figure out which style is yours is huge, and what also sort of clears the deck for you, whether that's getting in a clear, quiet space, or turning on some music, or unwinding, doing some yoga or tai chi or dance first to sort of get clear. And there will be situations in which it's a lot easier to access your intuition, and a lot of the time that's either when something doesn't seem to matter, it doesn't seem to be as big as ultimately $1 million decision I made, right? And I use the word decision because it's really, you are cutting off the other possibilities. You are going forward. And if you look up the etymology of decision, there's cut in there. You're cutting off the other choices you could make. So that's one thing. These intuitive things are something I have some other YouTube videos about, and I will post those links below. Also, what my retreat is, Awake, Aware, Inspired Retreat on Maui, to help you access those intuitive capacities and use them to make your life better. Use them to make yourself money, or save yourself money, or enjoy your money, enjoy your relationships and your choices, because that's really, really something that's available more and more as you access the wisdom of your own being. So learn more about the retreat at meetkathywilliams.com. And if you have questions, I would love to know also, what's your intuitive style if you know it? Are you a seer? Are you a hearer? Are you a knower? Do you receive info from your dreams? Do you feel it in your gut or in your arms or in a tingliness? I think one of the disservices some teachers have made is expecting or teaching people that this is the intuitive way. Like, doing this is how you know things. And it's like, that might be their way and not yours. And then since it's not yours, you think, oh, I'm not intuitive. And we all are intuitive. We all have these capacities. So rest assured, you have your own version, and maybe you cut it off as a child because it scared you, or because you told an adult something and they were like, you can't know that, or whatever it is. I actually got scared by my own intuition, which is another story at age 8. And I'll leave that one for another time. Check out the retreat at meetkathywilliams.com. And we have a couple spots left. And post your intuitive style and any questions you have below. Thanks a bunch. Make sure, if you're not, to sign up for my list to learn when classes are, retreats are, get videos when they're released by subscribing or by signing up for the list. And I'll see you soon.